Right guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in this Mark III BMW X5, which I've never featured on the channel. I'm a big X5 fan. I love the first generation, the E53, and I warmed to the second generation, the E70, once I'd got used to the styling. I think they're very good, very practical, very spacious, great fun to drive, and depending on the model you go for, they're not that expensive to run. Straight away I can tell you that this third generation, known as the F15, feels like a worthy successor. It looks like natural evolution from the Mark I. This is how, in my opinion, the Mark II should have looked. This looks modern and sleek. It's much more conservative than the Mark II, which was quite bloated and very in your face. This Mark III was available from 2013 all the way to 2018, when it was replaced with the Mark IV. Just like all the previous generation X5s, this F15 was very popular. In fact, in Russia alone, this was BMW's best-selling car. I remember going to New York a couple of years ago and the F15 X5 was everywhere. In Midtown Manhattan it was more common a sight than a yellow Crown Vic. And it isn't hard to work out why, because as a family car they can pretty much do it all. As standard they come with 5 seats, but if you hand over some more of your hard-earned they will give you a third row of seats, making this a 7-seater. Which might be handy if you end up being roped into taking your kids' friends home from school or other such duties. You also get plenty of interior space and a big boot. And with all 7 seats up, there's still some space for luggage. There's also plenty of room in the middle row, and those middle seats fold flat, creating a very large cargo area. If you do opt for the extra 2 seats in the boot, when they're not in use, they fold neatly into the boot floor. You'd never know they were there. Visibility is very good, there are no obvious blind spots. The driving position is very commanding. It gives you a very good view of the road. You get a nice soft leather elbow pad here, and another nice soft leather armrest here. This is a car you could do lots and lots of miles in. Sat here on the dual carriageway at 60 miles an hour, there's not much wind or road noise. It's all very civilised. There are plenty of storage pockets too. Down here you've got somewhere to throw your keys, you've got extra space down here for your wallet, and you've got 2 cup holders, in case you were wondering. Under these armrests is a large storage area with USB charging points. It's all just exactly how I would have done it. It isn't all good news though, because the actual design of the interior is a little bit, I won't use the word bland because that would be a bit unfair, but it's not very inspiring. It certainly isn't as special in here as, say, a Range Rover Sport or even a Mercedes GLE. But crucially, everything just works. The layout's all fine, the build quality is excellent, but it's just not very interesting. It's all a bit of a non-event. There's nothing wrong with it as such, but no real reason to think of an excuse to go and sit in it. The model I'm in today is a 2018 3-litre turbo diesel SE rather than M Sport. Being an SE, the ride is a little bit softer, but you don't get the nice M Sport steering wheel or the sporty M Sport seats. You do get some nice extras though, which sort of makes up for it. For example, I've got heated seats, a heated steering wheel, lane departure assist, and a 360 camera, which makes parking this big German Panzer a doddle. I wish all cars had it, frankly. Watch this. Unless your surname's Wonder, first name's Stevie, there's absolutely no reason to scrape your bumper ever again. The quality of the display is excellent, and if you look at the reverse camera, it looks as though it's in HD. The sound system's very good, as is the digital DAB radio, which rarely loses its signal, even out here in the sticks. The screen is both touchscreen, and it can be controlled by this rotary iDrive dial, which means your screen doesn't have to be soiled with greasy finger marks. I like the automatic gear selector. I know that's the same on all modern BMWs. But it's very user-friendly, it's very intuitive. The X5 comes as standard with an 8-speed automatic, which, I think I mentioned this in the 4 Series video, it's an excellent gearbox. It's so smooth, the gear changes are almost seamless and unnoticeable. But when you want to get a bit of a move on, the changes are immediate. It just means there's almost no lag when you want to get a move on, when you want to overtake a maroon Yaris hybrid. Speaking of getting a move on, this 3-litre straight-six turbo diesel engine is an absolute gem. I know I'm a bit of a sucker for them, as I've mentioned in many previous videos, but it's just all the engine you could possibly need. There are other engines to choose from, but this is without doubt the best all-rounder. If you're a bit of a penny pincher, there's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine you could go for, but in my opinion that's asking quite a lot to haul around such a big heavy car along with 7 passengers. If you're very much anti-diesel, there are a couple of petrol options too. There's a 3-litre turbocharged straight-six petrol, or a 4.4-litre twin turbocharged V8. Good news if you're a member of Extinction Rebellion, because there's also a hybrid option. That uses a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol along with an electric motor. Now, I've never driven one of those, but the stats are quite impressive. It produces 308 horsepower. So there really is something for everyone's taste and budget, but as I say, the 3-litre diesel is by far the best choice. BMW have been using this engine for years, but even alongside more modern cars, it can still more than hold its own. There are various versions of this 3-litre diesel. This one's the 30D, which produces 255 horsepower. Then there's the 40D, which produces 309, or there's the 50D, which produces 376. This 255 brake horsepower model is capable of 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds, and it will keep going till it tops out at 142. We get complacent nowadays when you read stats like that, but if you stop to think about it, it's very impressive. If I were looking for one of these X5s personally, I don't think I'd bother looking for one of the high output diesels. I mean, how fast do you need to go in your 7-seat 4x4? It's into sport mode. Overtake some cyclists. You really don't need to go much quicker than that. This model is also very fuel efficient. You'll do 35 miles per gallon around town and early to mid 40s on a run. Again, really impressive figures for a big, heavy 4x4. More evidence that this engine's the best one to go for. 255 brake horsepower might not sound like a lot in today's world, but it genuinely feels quick. It feels relentless. The other good thing is it's very quiet. It's only when you really rev it do you realise that it's a diesel. The 4.4 litre SD V8 in my Range Rover is a terrific engine, but unless you've got a very heavy right foot, around town it can feel a bit sluggish. This doesn't. You only need to place your right foot in the general direction of the accelerator, and you're off. It's nippy. In fact, the whole car is surprisingly agile and nimble. It belies its size. Of course, that's always been the X5's biggest selling point, and this Mark III was never going to let the side down. There's no obvious body roll. You can really throw this into corners as if you're in a sporty saloon car. You never have to make any allowances for the fact that you're in a big, tall, heavy SUV, or SAV, as BMW prefers to call it. The speed at which you can take corners in this thing honestly defies physics. You might have noticed the badges on this one informing you that it's equipped with BMW's xDrive 4-wheel drive system. You might think that that's just a pointless waste of a badge because surely all BMW X5s are 4-wheel drive, aren't they? Well, no, not anymore. You can buy this car as a 2-wheel drive, which just sends power to the back. BMW must have realised that most X5 owners don't drive over a ploughed field very often. Most will spend their entire lives driving to Bluewater or to the Trafford Centre, where frankly 4-wheel drive's a bit unnecessary. By opting for a 2-wheel drive version, you'll save yourself some money on fuel and tyres because they'll wear out less often. You might think it's a bit pointless to have a 4-wheel drive that isn't 4-wheel drive, but I mean, let's face it, X5s were never famously good off-road anyway, so I don't think you're losing an awful lot. The ride quality of this car surprised me. Some BMWs annoy me because they're just overly firm and stiff, and the steering's too heavy. This isn't. Granted, this is the SE with the wheels from a cosy coupe, but it handles pothole-riddled roads brilliantly. Reliability-wise, you shouldn't have an awful lot to worry about. Of course, this being a diesel, you might have issues with the EGR valve or injectors, or the turbo maybe, but you'd be very unlucky for all those things to fail during your ownership period. There's no air suspension on this particular model, just standard coil springs and dampers. That's something else that won't break your wallet. My advice, as always, would be service it on time using genuine parts, run it on premium fuel, service the automatic gearbox at about 100,000 miles, and you ought to have a pleasant ownership experience. Servicing costs shouldn't be too high so long as you avoid the main dealers. I'd recommend finding a good local specialist, somebody like Darren Wood in Bredbury. Be aware that tyres will set you back around £150 a corner, and the fact that this is both heavy and sporty, they will chew through them quicker than, say, a Renault Twingo. Depreciation is also reassuringly slow. They hold the values quite well, these. It just means that you shouldn't lose your shirt over a 3 or 4 year ownership period. All things considered, I've been genuinely impressed with this car. So much so I'd buy one. The only issue with the X5, as far as I can tell, is that most people, me included, would rather have a Range Rover Sport. They also come as a 7-seater, they have a nicer interior, and to my eye, they're better looking. Though the BMW diesel is far better than that Ford Peugeot-derived mongrel found in most sports. Used prices here in the UK for the F15 X5 start at around £15,000. That's going to get you an early, very high mileage example. If you see a white one with high mileage, beware because that's probably been a police car, And going off what my mate tells me, who's an officer in GMP, they don't have an easy life. They get absolutely spanked 24/7, so probably best to avoid those. For a nice one, you'll have to spend around £20,000 or £22,000, which I know is a lot of money, but for a car as capable of this, I actually think it represents good value for money. Make sure it has good service history, especially recent service history. If it's done in excess of 100,000 miles, make sure the gearbox has been serviced. If not, make sure it's the first thing you do. If it's done a load of miles, make sure it doesn't smoke excessively. All of the engines are chain driven, so there are no cam belts to worry about. Check there aren't any oil leaks, and also you want to make sure that both keys are present, because a brand new key from BMW will set you back about £250. I think that's all I can tell you about the F15 X5. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then do check out my online course. I'll leave the link below. I've created an online portal with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the motor trade. How to start, funding options, where to buy cars from, how to prepare your cars for sale, dealing with after sales. It's all there on that course, so do check it out. So yeah, cheers guys, I'll see you next time.